Dear viewers, welcome to this edition of Your Life, Your Money. World over, the financial advisors are seen with a sense of distrust. People often term financial advisory industry as a rogue industry. Why is this? The answer lies in rampant mis-selling. This is not a problem of one single company or one single country or one single institution. This has been seen across globe. In this episode, I am going to talk to you about 10 different ways the mis-selling happens, and if you are able to know how people mis-sell it, then you can probably take the remedial measures to save yourself from the mis-selling. This is NRI Money Clinic for you, and I am Dr. Chandrakant Bhatt, your financial guide for a happy living.
NRI Money Clinic. No hype, just the right advice.
Dear viewers, before I commence the 10 ways the mis-selling happens, I request you to subscribe for this channel, leave your comments about what experience you have gone through with respect to the point that I have raised in this video. Do not forget, leave your comments in the comment sections below. Mis-selling number 1. Selling unit-linked insurance plan as mutual funds or short-term products. I have nothing against the unit-linked insurance plans. These plans are great products, but they are great products for a particular category of people, for a particular tenure, and for a particular purpose. Using it as a mass investment vehicle is not something which is correct. ULIPs operate in a similar way as a mutual fund because the underlying are the funds, but it has certain variations to it. ULIPs come with certain caveats. They work very well if you are a person who is below 45 years of age. They work very well if you are able to put a large chunk of money under the unit-linked insurance plan. And they are not short-term products. The ULIP plans will work very well only if you have a long tenure, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, absolutely great products. But how the ULIPs get sold? People will try to sell it as a mutual fund, and people will say you pay for 5 years and you can walk out of that. Will it work in your favor? The answer is no. You hold it for a longer period of time. You use it as a retirement product. You use it for a child education purpose when your child is born, and you have a tenure with available of 15 years plus, then ULIPs are great products. Don't buy ULIPs as mutual fund and not for short term for sure. Mis-selling method 2. Asking you to close a policy and buy a new one. It can happen at a wealth management desk. It can happen at the front desk of insurance company. It can happen with any advisor. Asking you to close a policy in the first place is a crime. Crime because every product of insurance company, irrespective of the company, in any country for that matter, are long-term products. These are not short-term products. If you have invested for the sake of protection, you require protection at least till you retire. If you have invested for the sake of retirement and the plans have to run till the retirement, where is the question of asking you to exit that plan well ahead of that time? The normal way people try to do it is asking you to close the plan and say, this plan is not working in your favor, let us close this and buy a new one. Or sometimes it so happens within a short span of time, these products will give you great return thanks to the bull run which is happening, and the guys on the other side, the sales apparatus on the other side, will tell you, you have made money, now let's close this, walk out with this money and buy a new one. Under any circumstance, closing a policy and buying a new one is not in your best favor. The right thing to do is stick to that policy, wait till the maturity date, and obviously the maturity dates have to be longer, not a 10-year policies. It should be 15, 20, 25, 30 years. Stay put. That is where these products will deliver for you. So the next time if somebody asks you to close a policy, just say no. By the way, there could be a question in your mind, what if I have bought a wrong policy? Then should I continue? The answer is situational. If you have bought a wrong policy and if you have just bought it, then you can cancel it using the free look period. If you have taken the policy and you have paid just 1 monthly installment, 6 monthly installment, 1 or 2 years, you can see whether this policy is useful for you or not. You can calculate the pros and cons of closing this policy and then take a call. But most of the times, if you are paid for a policy, irrespective of whether it is useful to you or not, my suggestion would be do not make a second mistake to correct the first mistake. It's probably the best thing to stay put, continue that policy. That is where your best interest will lie. Mis-selling method 3. Asking you to invest in gold or gold bonds or some form of investment into gold by closing your fixed deposits or the money which is there in your savings bank account. You can by all means invest in gold. You can have an exposure control. You could be building gold assets for the sake of gifting it to your daughter, wife, or whatever the purpose. That is need-based investing. But if you have a fixed deposit and if somebody from a wealth management desk tells you, close this FD, use this money to buy the gold, probably you are doing a disservice for yourself. Fixed deposit gives you a cash flow in the form of interest. What does the gold give you? Nothing. You are buying gold. Gold only saves the purchase value. It will retain the value of your asset, but it does not have a cash flow. So having excessive gold or moving your performing asset like a mutual fund, like a fixed deposit, like a bond which is giving you a coupon into gold is not in your best interest. Shy away from investing in gold if somebody just tells you because it is available, you invest in it. Mis-selling way number 4. Asking you to move money from your one of the mutual fund schemes into a new fund offer or known as NFOs. The NFOs particularly have no meaning as such. The NFOs are brought for two primary reasons. If there is a great concept which is floating on and if somebody wants to invest in it, then an NFO is worthwhile. But the problem in the industry is NFO is used mostly to garner assets. That means a mutual fund company, a distributor, or the institution in its enthusiasm to get more assets under management keeps bringing in new fund offers, NFOs. And what many people do, they ask you to close one of the mutual fund scheme and move money to the new fund offer. 99%, it is very safe to say this movement will not work in your favor. Go back to the history of NFOs and find out how many NFOs have made money. In most of the times, the NFOs will come into the market when the scheme has run its course and it is already in a public glare, and probably it will plateau from there or it will go through a downfall. So if you have a mutual fund portfolio or schemes which are working very well in your portfolio, then do not do the mistake of closing this mutual fund scheme and moving the money to an NFO. Instead, if you are really convinced with the NFO, you can take a call to the extent of whatever the fund you have, you can invest in NFO with the fresh funds. Don't move it from the existing mutual funds. Mis-selling way number 5. Asking you to churn your mutual fund portfolio. A good methodology to adopt, and we often practice, is select right and sit tight. At the time of investing, you decide how you have to invest, what formulas you have to adopt, how you have to build your portfolio, how much of conservative should be there, how much of hybrid should be there, which kind of aggressive funds have to be parked there, how will you position your tactical bucket. A work has to be done in the beginning. Once you do this, then you should not churn your portfolio. If you select right, if you design things very well, where is the need for you to churn? Churn doesn't work in your favor. When you churn, what happens? If there is a profit, you have to pay the capital gains tax. Of course, you have to pay the capital gains tax sometime in the future. But is there a need to pay that today? If you justify, do that by all means. But if you unnecessarily churn, when you reposition these funds, the capital gains go out and you have lesser amount of money to redeploy. So the next time when people ask you to churn your portfolio, move funds from A to B to B to C, ask them the question, why? How does it impact my tax? Is there a justification? If the justification given is convincing to you, challenge it from your common sense, and your common sense gives you an answer, yes, I need to do that, please go ahead. But otherwise, for the heck of it, just to appear to do some kind of an activity, do not churn your mutual fund portfolio. Mis-selling method 6. The person who is entrusted with the sales responsibility, be it from the wealth management desk or from any part of financial industry tries to push you a product without doing your suitability check or risk profiling. Suitability check is finding out whether that product is required for you or not, or whether you have the risk taking ability to invest your money into it or not. For example, if somebody is living in Chennai, asking him to buy a room heater is useless. If somebody is living on the Alps or the Himalayas, asking him to buy a refrigerator could also be useless. If you know where he lives, then you can tell him what to buy and what not to buy. But just because I sell a refrigerator, asking you to buy a refrigerator is pushing a product. And that's exactly what happens in the case of financial industry. If somebody tries to push you a product telling, I have this, you buy it, it can be very safely said you are up for a mis-selling by the person on the other side. Mis-selling way 7. Asking you to buy a leveraged product. Even though this is not that rampant in India, but across globe, this is a big menace. The institutions are behind this. What they try to do is they'll say investing in bonds is very safe. Now this particular bond gives you 6% coupon rate. I will invest some money on your behalf. Let's say that you are going to put 100,000 US dollar into this bond, and this bond gives me 6% coupon rate. When you invest 100,000, I will give you a loan of 200,000 over and above it, and you invest 300,000 in this particular bond. When you get money from my side to invest in this bond, when you are getting 6%, but I will make available this money to you at 3% or 4%. So you have a differential of 2% to make out of this bond investment. In many cases, it may work in your favor, but it has its risks which are built into it. If it goes well, you may make more money than what you can really expect. Instead of 6%, your yield could be 7%, 8%. I'm just telling this number only for your understanding. That's not the way exactly it happens. But what if these bonds were to fail, or if something were to go wrong? Then you risk losing your capital as well. The best way to handle leverage is to say no to it. Or if you still want to invest in a leverage product, the best way is keep the leverage as low as possible. Maybe not more than 1:1. Look at the safety features, look at what might go wrong, and create the scenarios. If such a situation were to play out, how much could be the hit you are going to take? What is the exit route which is available to you? If you are convinced, then only go for it. Nevertheless, either avoid leverage or keep the leverage to the bare minimal extent. Anybody who is trying to push you a leverage product, you should see it with extreme caution. Mis-selling method number 8. Projecting the past return and forecasting the future. It is very, very rampant. If a product or a scheme has given good returns in the past, people often come to you and say, invest in the scheme, invest in this product. Look, this has given return of 35%, 50% in the last 2 years. And how do you visualize it? The investors, the gullible investors, cannot visualize what exactly is happening. They think if the sales apparatus says you have got 35% return, they think and visualize it like a fixed deposit which is giving you 35% return or 20% return or 15% return. Dear viewers, please make note here. That's not the way the mutual fund schemes or the stock markets work. They go through a capital appreciation. Situation is favorable, there is ample liquidity, and there is the inclination on the part of the general public to put money into it. We call it as by name sentiments. Sentiments can vanish in no matter of time. Liquidity can be sucked out by the central banks as it is happening right now. So if somebody is projecting you based on what happened in the past, do not see it as something which will continue into the future. The chances are that the best thing that might happen is the returns will plateau or get muted going forward, or most likely they will fall as times pass by due to a natural market correction. The corrective forces will take over. The two good periods or two bad periods will not happen in the stock markets or in the financial industry or in the economy. So if you have passed through a very good phase, the next phase that is going to come is a phase of plateau or a fall off. This is the cyclicity of the market. Understand this. So don't get attracted to what happened in the past. The relevant question to ask is what will happen in the future, and if things were not to happen as you expected, how much is the risk that you can take? I have one question for you. What's happening in the small cap and the mid cap space today? What is that you are seeing? What would you do with these schemes, the small caps and mid caps? How should you approach that? Should you be moved by the returns it has given in the last 2 years, or should you be cautious? Please let me know. What would you do? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Mis-selling method 9. Selling a product based on NAV 10 at par products. That means a new scheme is floated. It is available today just at 10 rupees. All other schemes which are available in the markets are quoting 20, 30, 50, 100. Whereas this scheme is available at 10. An NAV of a fund or a stock or whatever you call it as has no relevance for the profitability. I have spoken about this in multiple videos before. For the sake of clarity, I'll give you a brief explanation on this. Let's say that there are two funds. One which is made available to you, NAV at 10 par now, and there is another fund which has 100 as the NAV. If the market moves up by 10%, a 10 NAV product moves from 10 to 11. A 100 NAV mutual fund scheme moves from 100 to 110. In both the cases, the return you make is 10%. Because you have got a 10 as an NAV, it will not move from 10 to 20 in such a short span of time. So the next time if anybody tells you that I have a scheme which is available at par, just neglect it and it's not for you. Mis-selling method 10. Emotional product push. Investors are persons with emotions. They are filled with fear. They are filled with greed. It's natural. The sales apparatus will make best use of these emotions and try to push a product. For example, if the market is on a bull run, or if some asset class is doing very well, it could be gold, it could be real estate, it could be a mid cap, small cap fund, or a particular sector fund, and people will say, look, this fund is making money. They made 35% profit in the last 1 year, invest there. That means you are selling a risky product when the risk is very high. The best thing could have been to sell the customer with a hybrid product or a conservative product, or tell the customer, look, this has given 35%. Going forward, this might happen. Are you prepared for this? If you are prepared for this, then I'll give the product. Instead, they will create the greed in the individual, which is a natural phenomena which exists in every human being, and tries to give them the risky product when the risks are highest. On the reverse, they try to give a safe products when the markets are collapsing or when the markets have deeply corrected. At that point of time, the industry manufactures capital guarantee products. Stock markets have corrected, the risk has come down, the chances of market moving up from there in 1, 2, 3 years is very high. What is really required at that point of time is to push the equity funds, educate the customers, tell markets have corrected, the risks have come down, just give us the time and invest in this. What does the industry do? The industry will manufacture capital guarantee product, because the newspaper, the television channel, everywhere there is a fear, and you are also stuck with fear. Instead of educating you, they will play on your mind telling that this product has a capital guarantee, which means you are not encashing on the market sentiment and trying to invest in a sector which can give you high return. If you just give the time for it, you are asked to put money in a safer product. So next time when you see the product is being pushed, just check where the market is. If the market is on a bull run, you have to be careful. If the market has corrected and there is fear everywhere, it's time for you to become greedy and accumulate assets which are less risky, which are the equity schemes. Dear viewers, I have given you 10 points to understand how mis-selling happens. This is not a complete set. There are countless ways people do a mis-selling. Probably in one of the future video, I'll bring to you more points how people do mis-selling. For the time being, if it has given an idea, the popular methods adopted by the industry to mis-sell, please do give me a thumbs up. If you are a person who is watching my channel for the first time, reminding you to subscribe for the channel. Do not forget to share these videos with your near and dear ones, friends and relatives, and on all the WhatsApp groups on which you are connected with. Thank you very much for watching this episode on NRI Money Clinic. I shall be back with you with yet another episode of Your Life, Your Money next Friday. Till then, stay safe. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Press the bell icon for more details and subscribe our channel.